Broke but faithful. Something's missing. You tithe, you pray, you fast, you believe. And yet, the bank account stays dry, your rent is late again, and even your phone data becomes a faith walk. You've cried out, God, why am I doing everything right spiritually and still struggling financially? Here's the raw truth. Being spiritually active is not a replacement for financial wisdom. God is not a magician. He's a God of order, principles, and stewardship. You can't pray your way out of what you mismanaged your way into. Many believers confuse God's grace with financial autopilot, expecting supernatural wealth without obeying natural laws. Look at Deuteronomy 28. Yes, the blessings are real, but they're conditional on obedience. And part of that obedience includes managing money with wisdom. If you're always broke, it's not just a financial issue, it's a spiritual misalignment. There's a silent epidemic in the body of Christ. We've taught people to give and expect miracles, but not how to track spending, build budgets, or create systems. We've emphasized sowing, but not stewarding. Even Paul, a man full of the Holy Spirit, still had a tent-making side hustle. Jesus chose fishermen, tax collectors, and skilled workers, not idlers or daydreamers, to be his disciples. Because kingdom work requires capable, responsible people. So if you're broke and frustrated, I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to awaken you. Because the breakthrough you're praying for might be locked behind the principles you've been ignoring. Let's confront a dangerous lie. I don't need much, just enough to get by. Sounds holy, right? Sounds spiritual. But it's a poverty spirit in disguise, and it's killing your financial future. The poverty spirit convinces you that desiring wealth is ungodly. It whispers, be content with lack, while God is shouting, I've given you power to create wealth. Deuteronomy 8:18. Humility is not the absence of ambition, it's surrendering your ambition to God. But the poverty spirit twists that and teaches you to be passive, fearful of abundance, allergic to growth. It makes you spiritualize scarcity instead of confronting it. Jesus didn't live lavishly, but he never lacked. He fed thousands with fish and bread. He had a treasurer. He moved with purpose. When Peter needed to pay tax, Jesus didn't say, let's fast about it. He gave him a strategy. Go fish, and you'll find a coin in its mouth. Matthew 17:27. You're not honoring God by staying broke. You're dishonoring his investment in you. Look at the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. The servant who buried his money wasn't called humble. He was called wicked and lazy. Why? Because he didn't multiply what was entrusted to him. Many Christians have confused laziness with spirituality. You're not more righteous because you ignore financial planning. You're not more holy because you refuse to ask for more. God uses money as a test, not just to see how much you give, but how well you manage what's in your hand. And when your mind is infected with poverty thinking, even blessings feel like burdens. Let's break that mindset, because humility doesn't mean staying small. It means managing growth with grace. God honors stewardship, not just sacrifice. You may be willing to sacrifice your last dollar at the altar. You may stay up all night praying for financial rain. But here's the biblical reality. God responds to stewardship more than emotional sacrifice. Luke 16:10 says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. That's not just a cute proverb, it's a kingdom financial principle. Let's go to the parable of the talents in Matthew 25 again. 3 servants were given different amounts. 2 invested, 1 buried it in fear. The master returned, and only the ones who multiplied their talents got promoted. The lazy one didn't lose the money, he just did nothing with it. Yet he was called wicked. You see, many of us are not failing because of sin or lack of love for God. We're failing financially because we've never learned to steward. Stewardship is not about having more, it's about doing more with what you already have. Think about King Hezekiah. He not only prayed when his kingdom was in danger, he also fortified his city, stored provisions, and built systems, 2 Chronicles 32:27-30. Prayer and planning walked hand in hand. We have churches full of sacrificial givers who can't build an emergency fund. Full of worshipers who don't know how to read a bank statement. That's not a spiritual attack, it's a wisdom gap. God doesn't multiply chaos, he multiplies order. So if your finances are in disarray, don't just cry out, clean up, build structure. Create systems, track every naira, every dollar. That's not a lack of faith, it's evidence of it. Because when God sees stewardship, he releases increase. Budgeting, a spiritual discipline, not just math. You've probably heard this one before. I'm just not a numbers person. Or budgeting is too hard, it stresses me out. But here's the truth most believers overlook. Budgeting is spiritual warfare. Yes, it's a spreadsheet, but it's also a shield, a barrier between you and debt, a map guiding you from paycheck to purpose. A discipline that reflects the heart of God's order. Point first. Corinthians 14:33 says, God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. So if your finances are confusing, untracked, and unpredictable, then something isn't aligned with kingdom order. The enemy loves disorganization. Why? Because chaos consumes what discipline could have multiplied. When you budget, you're not just tracking money, you're telling every dollar where to go, so your money serves you, not enslaves you. Look at Nehemiah. Before rebuilding Jerusalem's wall, he assessed the damage, Nehemiah 2:13. He didn't start swinging hammers based on vibes, he planned, he calculated. That's what budgeting is. It's counting the cost like Jesus taught in Luke 14:28. And let's be clear, budgeting is for everyone, not just high earners. Even the widow in 2 Kings 4 had to account for what she had left before the miracle of multiplication began. Elisha asked, "What do you have in your house?" And her oil became her income stream. Today we have powerful budgeting tools like Every Dollar, built by Dave Ramsey for zero-based budgeting, YNAB, You Need a Budget, for proactive planning, Mint and Tiller Money for automation and customization, Google Sheets if you like to build your own system. Stop praying for overflow if you can't even track a leak. God won't pour into what you won't manage. Start budgeting and watch clarity return to your financial life. Destroy the God will provide excuse. Let's dismantle one of the most abused phrases in the Christian financial vocabulary. God will provide. Of course, he will. He's Jehovah Jireh, the provider. But many believers use that truth as an excuse to stay financially passive. They spiritualize laziness, dress it up in faith, and call it contentment. That's not faith. That's irresponsibility. Philippians 4:19 says, "And my God will supply all your needs according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus." Yes, but Paul wrote that to a generous, giving, responsible church, not to people who refuse to plan, build, or work. God does provide, but often through ideas, instructions, and strategies. If he only provided by magic, Jesus would have turned stones into bread instead of multiplying what was already in the boy's hands. John 6:9-13. When Elijah was fed during the famine, it wasn't by angels, it was by ravens first, and then by a widow with a meal plan. Both times God gave structure, not just supernatural surprises. Let's stop waiting for manna when God has given us the ability to farm, sow, and harvest. Ask yourself, are you reading about finance or just praying for miracles? Are you taking classes to upgrade your skill set? Are you writing business ideas down? Are you budgeting, investing, and building reserves? These are not anti-faith. They are how faith functions. Faith without works is dead, James 2:17. So don't just believe God will provide. Ask yourself, am I positioned for provision? Because provision doesn't fall on confusion. It flows through obedience, preparation, and clarity. You don't need to stop saying God will provide. You just need to stop using it as a reason to avoid doing your part. The dangerous delay of ignoring skills. One of the fastest ways to stay broke, even while being spiritual, is to neglect skill building. Proverbs 22:29 says, "Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men." It doesn't say anointed, gifted, or even called. It says skilled. That means in God's economy, skill opens doors that prayer alone cannot. And yet, so many believers are waiting for a promotion while ignoring the practical skills that lead to one. Here's the danger: delay. The longer you wait to learn something new, the longer you delay your financial breakthrough. God may be ready to bless you, but you've given him no structure to pour into. Look at Daniel. He didn't just pray, he studied. He became 10 times better than his peers because of his wisdom and understanding. Daniel 1:20. That's skill plus favor, not one without the other. If you're a hairdresser, learn customer service and marketing. If you're a content creator, master editing, storytelling, and analytics. If you're in business, learn QuickBooks, branding, and negotiation. And don't say, "I can't afford to learn." Platforms like Coursera, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, and Skillshare offer low-cost courses that can transform your earning capacity. Even free tools like YouTube and Google Digital Garage are gold mines if you're willing to learn. Neglecting skill development is not neutral, it's dangerous. It keeps you stuck praying for jobs you're not qualified for. It builds frustration with God while ignoring your own growth gap. God equips those who move, so move. Because when your hands are skilled, God can anoint them to prosper. Joseph's secret: financial planning is prophetic. Most people think prophecy is just about dreams, visions, and declaring things over your life. But in the kingdom, planning is prophetic. When Pharaoh had a dream about famine, Joseph didn't just interpret it. He built a 14-year financial strategy, 7 years of storing surplus, followed by 7 years of managed scarcity, Genesis 41:33-36. That wasn't just smart, that was prophetic stewardship. And look at what happened. Because Joseph planned, Egypt didn't just survive the crisis, they became the global supplier. People came from every nation to buy grain. Let that sink in. Planning turned Egypt into a financial superpower. So why do we downplay financial planning in church? Why do we ignore emergency funds, asset allocation, and contingency plans, and call it faith? Faith doesn't cancel planning, it empowers it. Proverbs 21:5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." That's Bible. Planning is a path to abundance. Let me ask you, do you have a 6-month emergency fund? Are you using tools like Personal Capital or YNAB to track long-term financial goals? Do you revisit your budget monthly like a business owner reviews their numbers? Have you set up a contingency fund for job loss, illness, or economic downturn? God already knows the famine years that may come. But like Joseph, you can be ahead of the storm. You can be the one others turn to. You don't need a prophetic word about your next blessing. You need a prophetic plan to manage it when it comes. Planning isn't fear, it's foresight. And in the kingdom, foresight is faith in action. Let's make this practical. The rich don't just pray differently, they plan differently. They track, they invest, and most importantly, they use tools to make better financial decisions. And guess what? Most of those tools are available to you right now. Proverbs 24:3-4 says, "By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge it's filled with rare and beautiful treasures." That's not just spiritual knowledge, that includes financial literacy. Mint, a free budgeting app that helps you track spending, set goals, and manage bills. Perfect for zero-based budgeting, every dollar gets a job. M1 Finance lets you automate investing, build custom portfolios, and grow with fractional shares. Real estate investing made simple, even if you're not a millionaire. Essential for tracking your credit score and managing debt strategically. Every dollar, built on Dave Ramsey's plan, great for Christian families learning how to live below their means. Tiller Money. If you love spreadsheets, this tool connects your bank to Google Sheets for custom budgeting. Fidelity Bloom, or SoFi Invest, helps automate savings with features like roundup investing and no-fee ETFs. Why do these tools matter? Because what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets multiplied. You cannot build kingdom wealth with guesswork. You need visibility on your income, your spending, your debt, and your growth. Don't let ignorance keep you broke. The rich are not always smarter, they're often just better equipped. You've got the faith, now get the tools. Because in the kingdom, wisdom is wealth. Kill the debt beast. Start here. Debt isn't just a financial issue, it's a spiritual bondage. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The borrower is slave to the lender." That's not symbolic, that's real. When you're drowning in high-interest loans, late fees, and credit card balances, your decisions are no longer kingdom-led, they're debt-driven. And here's the problem. Many Christians are faithfully tithing while quietly bleeding out through debt. You can't build wealth while serving two masters, God and your creditors. So how do you break free? You attack debt with strategy, not just sorrow. It's not enough to cry about it. You need a plan. Start with debt snowball method. Pay off your smallest debts first. Each win builds confidence. Debt avalanche method. Target the highest interest debt first. Save the most money long term. Zero-based budgeting. Every dollar has an assignment, including debt payoff. Google Sheets plus Mint. Track your balances, due dates, and payoff progress. Self or credit builder loans. Rebuild your credit while saving at the same time. And make no mistake, this isn't just about numbers, it's about spiritual warfare. Because debt keeps you in survival mode, never sowing, never dreaming, always stressed. Even Elisha's miracle with the widow in 2 Kings 4 was about canceling debt. She poured oil, sold it, and paid off what she owed. Her breakthrough wasn't just spiritual, it was financial strategy in action. God can cancel debt miraculously, but He also teaches you to conquer it methodically. And once you kill the debt beast, you free up resources to build, invest, and give. You stop being a borrower and start becoming a kingdom financier. Slavery ends where strategy begins. The widow's oil. Monetize what's in your house. If you're praying for financial breakthrough but ignoring your God-given ideas, skills, or resources, you may be missing the miracle already sitting in your house. In 2 Kings 4, 1-7, a widow cried out to Elisha for help because her husband died in debt, and creditors were coming for her sons. Elisha didn't hand her money. He asked, "What do you have in your house?" Her response, "Nothing except a small jar of oil." That "except" was all God needed. She obeyed, borrowed vessels, poured the oil, sold it, paid her debt, and lived off the rest. This isn't just a miracle story, it's a business blueprint. You're likely sitting on untapped assets right now. A baking skill you've ignored. A voice or talent you buried out of fear. A camera and editing knowledge you could monetize through YouTube or social media content. A knowledge base that could be turned into an ebook, a coaching service, or a paid newsletter. God often answers financial prayers with business ideas, not bank transfers. Let's be clear, entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, but value exchange is. That means if you can solve a problem, meet a need, or create something meaningful, you can earn. Think about the Proverbs 31 woman. She didn't sit around waiting for manna. She sourced fabrics, traded goods, bought real estate, managed staff, and turned a profit, all while honoring her household and her God. Modern platforms like Etsy, Shopify, Fiverr, and Upwork make it easier than ever to start small and grow from your kitchen table. Before you ask God to bless your bank account, ask Him to reveal what He's already placed in your hands. Because your miracle may not be in the mail, it might be in your house. Don't just save, multiply. Saving money is good, but in the kingdom, saving alone is survival. Multiplication is stewardship. Jesus told a parable in Matthew 25 where servants were entrusted with talents, money. The ones who multiplied what they were given were called good and faithful, but the one who buried his talent, he was rebuked, stripped of his gift, and labeled unfaithful. That's a hard truth. God expects increase, not just safekeeping. Now don't misunderstand, saving is wise. Proverbs 21:20 says, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." So yes, build your emergency fund, but don't stop there. Your money must begin to work for you, not just sit in a low-interest savings account, slowly losing value to inflation. Let's talk multiplication strategies. High-yield savings accounts. Start here if you're new, better interest than traditional banks. Certificates of deposit and treasury bills, safe, fixed returns. Index funds and ETFs via Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab, great for long-term, low-cost investing. Dividend reinvestment plans, grow wealth passively. Real estate investment trusts, REITs, own property indirectly and earn returns. Dollar cost averaging, invest consistently regardless of market conditions. Use tools like Acorns, Roundup Investing, Wealthfront, or Betterment, robo-advisors, to automate and simplify your strategy. Platforms like M1 Finance and Public.com offer customizable, hands-on investing if you prefer control. God's desire is not for you to hoard money out of fear, but to multiply it with wisdom and boldness. Money is a seed. If you only store it, it won't grow. But when you sow it wisely into knowledge, into business, into assets, it returns with increase. You don't honor God by just saving. You honor Him when your money multiplies with purpose. Income streams or prayer points. Let's be brutally honest. If you have time to attend every night vigil, fast 3 days a week, and sow seed in every prophetic conference, but still have only one source of income, you're not under attack. You're underdeveloped. Ecclesiastes 11:2 says, "Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land." That's not just poetic wisdom, it's a kingdom strategy for diversified income. Many believers are burning spiritual calories, praying for a financial breakthrough, while refusing to build multiple streams. Many believers are burning spiritual calories, praying for a financial breakthrough, while refusing to build multiple streams. They spiritualize dependence on one paycheck and call it contentment, but Scripture calls that risk. Let's redefine the word breakthrough. It's not always angels showing up with cash. Sometimes breakthrough looks like launching a side hustle, publishing a course, or starting a YouTube channel. Examples of breakthrough include building a Shopify store, offering freelance services, monetizing a skill on Fiverr or Upwork, and creating a print-on-demand product line. These aren't just worldly ideas, they are wise strategies for your financial and spiritual growth. Look at Paul. He planted churches, preached, mentored, wrote letters, and made tents. He had spiritual callings and income streams. So why are you afraid of doing both? And no, you don't need to quit your job today, but you do need to expand your earning potential. Use platforms like Teachable, Substack, or Gumroad to sell knowledge. Use Notion or Airtable to manage side projects. Use QuickBooks Self-Employed to track income from multiple ventures. Prayers are powerful, but if your financial life has only one leg, it'll keep collapsing under the weight of every crisis. Prayer points are great, but income streams will fund your purpose, bless your family, and finance the gospel. You don't need either or. You need both prayers and multiple income streams to fund your purpose, bless your family, and finance the gospel. If you think entrepreneurship is unbiblical, let's introduce you to Lydia, a woman of power, profit, and purpose. Acts 16:14 describes Lydia as a dealer in purple cloth, an expensive commodity in her time. She wasn't just selling fabric, she was running a high-end luxury business. And what did she do with her wealth? She opened her home to Paul and his companions, helping launch the church in Philippi. Lydia wasn't just a boss, she was a kingdom financier. Then there's the Proverbs 31 woman. She inspects fields, buys real estate, runs multiple businesses, manages household operations, and supplies merchants. She is strategic, disciplined, respected, and profitable. Let's stop treating ambition like a sin. God celebrates productive people. Look at modern Christian entrepreneurs like Strive Masiyiwa, founder of EcoNet and a global philanthropist funding education and Christian causes across Africa. And David Green, founder of Hobby Lobby, building a billion-dollar business on biblical principles and giving 50% of profits to ministry work. Lindsay Snyder, CEO of In-N-Out Burger, running one of America's most successful fast food chains while advancing her faith and mission. Ally Worthington, business coach and Christian author helping women launch profitable faith-based businesses. These individuals are not greedy, they're faithful stewards. So if God has placed a business idea in you, why are you burying it? It's not unholy to scale, it's not carnal to profit. The question is, what are you doing with the profit? You are not less spiritual because you're building a brand, managing a team, or increasing your revenue. You're simply stepping into the biblical blueprint of people like Boaz, Priscilla, and even Abraham. It's time to stop apologizing for being productive. Kingdom bosses build. Before you ask God for another breakthrough, another miracle, another financial rescue, stop. Shift your mindset first. Because God won't bless what you're still mismanaging. He won't multiply what you won't measure. And He won't send overflow to a heart that's still leaking through disobedience, laziness, or fear. Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Transformation doesn't start in your wallet, it starts in your thinking. So here's what you need to shift. From emotion to execution. Cry less, build more, pray but plan. From scarcity to strategy. Stop saying I don't have enough and start asking, what can I do with what I have? From waiting to working, God moves with movers, not just mourners. From excuses to education, learn, read, grow. Don't just fast for favor, study for stewardship. From fear to faith in action. Faith without works is dead. Start applying what you know. Use the tools, YNAB, Mint, Fidelity, Acorns, Google Sheets. Take the classes, create the budget, track your net worth. Kill that debt, multiply that income, build with wisdom. Follow the examples, Joseph, Lydia, Proverbs 31 woman, David Green, Strive Masiyiwa. They didn't just believe God, they partnered with Him through action. So before you pray again for money, for provision, for financial healing, ask yourself, am I actually ready to receive it? Or am I just hoping God overrides the principles I refuse to live by? Here's your new declaration. I am a kingdom steward. I am not broke, I am in transition. I reject the poverty mindset and embrace God's blueprint for wealth. I will manage well, multiply wisely, and move boldly. My money is not my master, it's my tool for kingdom impact. Now go, shift your mind, work the plan, and watch God do more than you imagined. Subscribe to Wealth Oga if you're ready to break cycles and build kingdom wealth with faith and financial fire. Broke but faithful, something's missing. You tithe, you pray, you fast, you believe. And yet, the bank account stays